what is that one message you would leave them with?
I would say set goals and a path to get there.
What made Becker select Simandhar Education as the exclusive partner for the India region?
The reason why is the journey we've had together over the last 8 years. It's been wonderful, Sripal. It's really because our values are so closely aligned. We are both keenly focused on changing lives.
So Becker has trained over 1 million students across the globe. That's crazy numbers. What makes Becker stand out?
I would say, Sripal, it goes back to outcomes. Becker produces outcomes for students. Becker has last year completed 98% of the Watt cells winners.
You're known for building a very employee engaged companies. What is your mantra?
I would give it to my team. It has been because their ability to execute in an empowered environment.
What is that UI which other countries are not able to do it on their software, but Becker does it so beautifully?
Fortunately, in today's technology, we have artificial intelligence, and we implemented a academic advisor called Nuke. Something like that helps them ask a question right when they're in the middle of their studies, and the artificial intelligent academic advisor responds back to them with the answer instantaneously.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Brains Behind Billions podcast, where we will be interacting with the finance and accounting legends across the world. And I'm your host, Sripal Jain. I'm a qualified chartered accountant and a licensed CPA. And I'll be interacting with a lot of guests. And today we have one of the most important and our special guest to the podcast, Ed Clark. He is the president of Becker Professional Education. And he's the man himself, shaping up so many accounting careers across the world. Ed, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Sripal. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here today to talk about accounting and finance across the globe to help all those young professionals jumpstart their career.
Thank you, Ed. Ed, you have built and led businesses for over past 30 years. So what sparked your passion in education and learning?
It was really that first experience, Sripal. It was seeing that successful candidate make it through a finance exam, and it really changed their way of life. I set a path to get a degree in finance and joined an investment firm, and it helped them advance their career and improve their way of life.
Awesome, Ed. Ed, you have built businesses for over last 30 years. What sparked your interest in education and learning?
It was really that first student, Sripal, that I saw successfully complete their finance exam. They were fresh out of college. They wanted to get into the banking and finance area, and they had to get through a critical exam. And that individual studied hard, and we prepped them for the exam, and they completed their exam and passed it successfully and obtained a role, financial institution in banking and finance. After that, wrote me a letter about 6 months later, said he got engaged and was starting a family, and it just really made an impact on me that we can change lives in the education space.
Wow, this is amazing actually. So that gives an impact. So it's a very outcome-based role. From Clark Custom Farming, you have come a long way, Ed. What made you kind of become so successful in your entrepreneurial journey?
I guess my entrepreneurial spirit started in university. I took an entrepreneurial class in university in business school in marketing, and it was about starting up a business. And after that, I decided to start my own business. So I started Clark Custom Framing, which is a far way away from education, but it was a great journey. It taught me a lot about starting up a business. It's taught me a lot about selecting and hiring talented individuals. And then I joined a group called TEC, the executive committee, and it's a group of professionals that share ideas and network. And through that experience, I met someone that was in the education space, and I ended up joining that firm. So back in 1996.
Awesome. That's like 29 years. Oh, huge.
So back in 1996, I joined this firm, and I was tasked with starting up the finance education business. And we started in the banking and finance area, and then moved on to insurance, and then into certified financial planning, and then into accountancy. So helping individuals all across their career. And that's where my passion began, for just seeing businesses, finding opportunities, and helping students advance their careers and improve their way of life.
Outstanding, Ed. It's a great journey, I would say, starting out from custom farming and now leading a huge global finance and accounting company like Becker. Can you walk us through the biggest inflection point in your professional journey?
That goes quite some ways back. It was really when we started online classes. So we created Live Online back in 2006. That event really did change lives. At that point, we were still doing a tremendous amount of live classrooms across the country, and introduced our first live online class. So individuals that had challenging schedules, or young families, or working and balancing work and their education, were able to attend online classes, and the instructors were able to interact with them. And it was really the first platform. I know you and the team at Simandhar know a lot about distance learning, but back then it seemed like it was really the beginning, and started to change lives, where they could do hybrid learning, or they could do all online, or they could go to our live classes.
Awesome. So Becker has trained over 1 million students across the globe. I mean, that's crazy numbers. And that's also since consistently over 65 years. What makes Becker stand out? They have almost acquired 95% of market share in the US. So I was reading it, I was going through Becker and kind of glanced through Wikipedia, and I find that Becker is 95% shareholding. So there is a saying, out of say 100K people in the US, almost 95,000 people passed the US Chartered Accountants exam, which is a CPA, with Becker. So what makes Becker stand out?
I would say, Sripal, it goes back to outcomes. It is Becker produces outcomes for students. What Sells is a prestigious award. Sure, we'll get to talk more about that, but Becker has last year completed 98% of the What Sells winners. Very stringent guidelines for What Sells. What Sells is you have to complete all 4 papers within a calendar year, and you have to achieve a 95% or better on each one of those.
That's huge.
Becker helps those students get through that, and it's really about a focus on outcomes and developing quality content to ensure that you're achieving those outcomes.
You spoke about a lot about online. You said that you started off online. So how do you envision the future of learning? Will it be online? Will it be hybrid? And now with AI coming up, it's becoming more personalized. And people are again going back to online. So after COVID, we thought that it will go more physical, but again, people are shifting online. So what is it changing now? So is it online, offline, or hybrid?
The one thing that'll be constant, Sripal, is it'll constantly change. That is for sure. I believe it'll be an integrated learning experience that is personal to the student. It'll be individuals that are able to choose a platform, and those happen today, where they can choose a learning approach, whether that be hybrid, whether it be live online, or completely all online. But what will really change is adding the tools that are happening so fast today. You know as well as anybody that AI is really impacting our lives as well as our learning experience. And incorporating those into the learning experience are really important. So including practical skills where that makes sense, and introducing tools in the latest learning technologies is going to be really important.
Awesome, man. What's your leadership policies or philosophy, I would say, integrating a lot of companies? You have acquired so many companies. So a lot of acquisitions happening across. What is the philosophy? What do you think when you acquire? What are the principles you keep it in mind?
Yes, acquisition has been a big part of our growth journey. The biggest piece of successful acquisition and integration is maintaining the special aspects of that business. We call it the secret sauce. Don't ever lose that. Don't lose that entrepreneurial way. You created a wonderful business in Simandhar, and you do it by changing lives of your students and having that personal experience. Whatever that is for each one of those individual companies, make sure you hold on to that and protect it is protected as the precious jewel on earth, and make sure you don't lose that entrepreneur's way of how he started the business and why that business is so successful.
So what is your philosophy when you're acquiring companies?
We look for talented management teams. We don't want to lose that. And what separates them from the competition, whether that be quality curriculum.
Moat.
Yes. Whether that be quality curriculum, whether that be the technology that they deliver the learning experience on, whether it be their entire management team and their employee base, or whether that be their customer base that we would love to have as part of our Becker solution.
Amazing. You're known for building a very, very employee engaged companies. Normally, typically the employee engagement ratio is capped at 30% across the world. It's phenomenally higher at Becker. So what makes Becker so creative? Because we see these days employees, it's very difficult for them to be innovative and creative. So what is your mantra?
It is a lot to be said, but I would give it to my team. They have been awesome stewards of our employees. But you do talk about engagement, and we have an 82 engagement rate, which is extremely high. It has been because their ability to execute in an empowered environment. So I would say the number one thing is empower your people. Allow them to make decisions, make mistakes, go through in an empowered manner.
Amazing. So 82% is extremely high. Typically it is 30%. And getting to that ratio, I mean, how's everyone involved? So you spoke about empowerment. Would you want to throw an example of how you did that practically?
I always go back to this one example, but I've spoke to our customer service team and said, you have the ability to change lives and make sure that your students have a great experience. Take ownership of that relationship and ensure that they are happy. This student was going through their CPA journey, made it through their first paper, was studying for their second, and during that time had I won't go into the details of it, but a family challenge that they had to deal with and had to step back from pursuing the rest of their CPA additional 3 papers. In that time, they called customer service. They were having financial hardships, and customer service agent took the opportunity, took it upon themselves, did not ask their manager, and gave a full refund to that student and said, come back to us when you're ready.
Amazing. I mean, this is where the ownership plays a very, very big role, and that's what is empowerment. What's one leadership decision that changed the entire course of your business?
One leadership decision that really changed the roadmap for our business at Becker was something that we implemented called flipping the pyramid. It goes back to my last comments about empowerment, but really the empowerment starts at the individuals that are closest to the customers. So we rolled out a full training program called Flipping the Pyramid, which empowers our frontline employees to make decisions. And as it goes up, the top is informed by the people that are closest to the customer.
Oh, amazing. This is flipping the pyramid. Right? So one more thing which kind of comes up here is if that is something, if they take the decisions and the ownership is there, but still the creativity is something which which most of the people are fond of in the Becker product. If you see the way the creativity is, even the UI of the product is amazing. They actually value it millions. What is that UI which other countries are not able to do it on their software, but Becker does it so beautifully?
We spend a tremendous amount of time listening to the voice of the customer. So listening to students, that's where we get our biggest insight from. It's listening to the students, making changes in our software, adding it in as we listen to those customers and make the changes. Most recently, rolled out AI capability within the software because of their need of this. If this generation's learning really expects real-time answers. And we said, how are we going to do that? And fortunately, in today's technology, we have artificial intelligence, and we implemented a academic advisor called Newt. And something like that helps them ask a question right when they're in the middle of their studies, and the artificial intelligent academic advisor responds back to them with the answer instantaneously.
Amazing. So we also have a digital Sripal though, but this is a great kind of innovation in the product. And you had Colibri, you had Becker, and you're the president at so many companies now. How are you able to handle so many things? What is the secret to multitasking?
Secret to multitasking is it's even a challenge for me, but it is about setting goals. It's pretty simple. I start my week with my top priorities. I still write those top priorities down, and when I get to the end of the week, I make sure they're all checked off. So it is establishing priorities, working through those on a weekly basis, and making sure getting through all of those top priorities.
Amazing. So that's like more, it reminds me of the checklist manifesto which my alumni was talking about by Dr. Alok. It's amazing book, guys, but this is similar to that. There's a basic checklist which you need to follow and then kind of execute that as well. There are talks in accounting that in the US, almost 75% of the US CPAs would kind of resign in next 3 years because it's an aging problem which US is suffering from. And for the people who are new to CPAs, CPAs like how we have in India Chartered Accountancy, US Chartered Accountancy is known as Certified Public Accountant CPAs. That's what there's a talk that almost many of them are getting retired. So how do you ensure that the students get motivated towards the accounting profession?
At Becker, we started at the university program. So you're right. There's a shortage today of accountancy, but with the aging population of accountants, there is going to be retirement and we need to get more people into the pipeline. We do that through a grassroots operation at the university level in the U.S. So across the U.S., we have account managers in all geographies, talking to students, getting them interested in the accounting profession. It is making accounting industry and helping them understand it's a career for life. Everybody needs an accountant in their life. Complete that your CPA, complete that designation, achieve a career in accounting, and it's a great opportunity to advance your career.
That's amazing, actually. It's good that we are going at the ground level and talking to the universities. So how do you expect demand for CPAs in India?
India is a terrific market. It is opportunity, great population with amazing skills. Chartered accountancy, as you know, is very popular in India. It's how do we transfer and create popularity around CPA to motivate those individuals to pursue a CPA. India is an opportunity for the U.S. to find talented resources to be able to perform CPA duties. Making them embrace this journey is where our biggest challenge is. So getting the word out there, helping them understand that CPA is a path for opportunity to advance their career will certainly help offset the shortage that's occurring in the U.S.
And that's amazing how Ed spoke about is the quality, not the cost. So India is not a cost country because typically people get confused that a lot of the US companies coming in India, like we have the popular GCCs, Global Capability Centers, opening up in India, but that is not due to cost, but that is due to getting the quality talent. And I really love that, Ed, that you spoke a lot about quality than the cost. So what makes a Becker student different from the rest of the world?
It's going through that learning experience, is ensuring that they get through that very difficult curriculum as fast as possible, so that when they learn a concept, they complete a concept, they test on a concept, and they make their paper for the first exam. Getting through that in the expedited manner is what separates Becker students from all the others.
Awesome. So if you were a young professional entering in the finance today, where would you begin?
I would begin in university and starting my program early. So when I completed my university, I already had a jump on the other students, starting to embrace those first portions of it in either certifications that I could attain in university or working towards my CPA. So start early is my advice.
Amazing. So now when we talk about the quality of Becker, like discussed about the Becker students and all, and there is always a confusion between growth and quality. People sometimes, should they chase growth, should they chase quality? Becker has grown and also at the same time maintained a balance and having a great quality. So how did we achieve that?
I'm going to go back to my previous statement of a myopic focus on the student. So listening to the student and what's important, receiving that feedback and changing our course accordingly. Constantly making updates, making sure it's up to date, making sure we're using the latest learning technologies and learning that's preferential to the student wherever they are along that journey.
Awesome. They say that attention is a very scarce commodity in the world. So, and we are dealing with people who are half the time on Instagram. So, Gen Z is one of the highly talked topic today. So, how are you ensuring that Gen Z audience, or I would say not just the students, but also the employees, how are you ensuring that? I mean, how are you preparing for this?
We spoke about university and our efforts on university and starting that interest early in the CPA or pursuing the accounting industry as a whole. That young generation of Gen Z certainly has a lot of learning desires. Micro learning is a big piece. So small bite-sized content. We modified our course to pay attention to those new learners' needs. But I would say the biggest asset of that generation is that they want a learning experience that is close to their values. They want to make a difference in this world. They're not, I see that generation is just don't want a job. I want to make a difference in this world. Making sure that we can relate a course that gives them a balance between personal life and professional life, pursuing their education, and doing that in a modality that is suitable to their learning desires.
So beautifully answered. But then you didn't tell me about the employees.
Oh, that's right. It's because we focus on education, but employers, of course, I deal with it myself, and all my senior managers do, our young managers do, but we have very large population of Gen Z, and I think it's back to really those same aspects. It's about giving them a balance between the things that they truly value, that work-life balance, but also making a difference in this world. They really want to make an impact, whether that's environmentally, whether that's helping their fellow co-worker, whether that's helping a part of the population that's in need, but they really want to make a difference.
Anil, that's really great insight. It also tells me that the Gen Z is more focused on purpose or impact than just greed, right?
Exactly.
Because there's a lot of talks that they're more greedy and all, but I don't think so. What do you think is basically they look for purpose more, and that is what drives them towards the work.
Exactly. And if we can provide a work environment that fits those needs, they're happier, they're more productive, and we're happier.
You have mentored countless leaders. So what's your advice for someone who's turning to be a CEO or aiming to be a CEO?
Continuous learning, number one thing. We've spoken about AI today because that is such a hot topic. It's influencing our education environment, but there will always be something. AI will be with us for quite some time. But in addition to AI, there are many other aspects. But what is the latest in learning, whether that be modes of modality or whether that be technical skills, because there will constantly be changes. If we focus on the accounting industry, there are going to be new tools. So learning those tools, but continuous education is where I would encourage those students to challenge themselves. I'll go back to my checklist of a week, but making those things that are most important priority for the week and making sure you get those done by the end of the week. Take a couple of items that you want to learn that week and make sure that you at least expose yourself to them, and hopefully you can master them by the end of the week.
So what does success means to you after having such an incredible journey in your career?
Success, I would say that I've changed the lives of 100 million people.
Amazing. How do you, or what do you hope your legacy in the professional education space will be?
That I've really helped those 100 million people advance their careers and improve their way of life, that they were able to achieve, whether that be a CPA or CMA or whatever their desire is across that learning path. They've achieved that North Star of accomplishment in education, and it helped them to have, whether that be higher earnings or a family or a home, but it's improved their way of life.
So if every finance and accounting aspirant or a professional watching us today, what is that one message you would leave them with?
I would say set goals. Set goals, whether those are small to going after, but make sure you set goals for learning and what your goals are in life, whether that be education or personal, and sometimes those are very closely together. But setting goals and holding yourself accountable and giving yourself the grace to really enjoy life as you go along that path. But set goals and a path to get there.
Awesome. There are a lot of talks that Becker makes you theoretically prepared, but when it comes to practicality, a lot of people are suffering. I mean, a lot of them are not getting jobs in finance and accounting after they pass the CPA exam. What is Becker trying to do to make the students job ready?
You mentioned practical, and that's extremely important to us. Simulations is a very difficult part of getting through the exam, but it is putting practical experience into play. So how do we do a better job of that? Whether it be labs, environments where they actually have to perform accounting tasks, a trial balance, whatever that task may be, but they're able to produce hands-on through a simulation or a lab environment to be able to demonstrate their skills.
But then what happens is we do tell that to every of the students or the professionals, but then it doesn't reaches them out. I mean, there are a lot of professionals when we tell them that it's more towards how they can improve practically. How do we ensure that it is reaching that particular aspirant?
I would encourage them to find ways that they can demonstrate their experience. So find mock examples of accounting tasks, inventory management, whatever that could be, and they can demonstrate that to their potential employer about here's a real scenario of data that I've taken and I've shown my practice and accomplishments of achieving that.
Amazing. So now this is very personal. So what made Becker select Simandhar Education as the exclusive partner for the India region? I mean, India is such a huge country, so huge population. What are the parameters you have seen before making such a massive decision?
Wow. Yep, it was a massive decision, very disruptive to the space. That's why I'm in India this week, and I'm just thrilled to announce this partnership exclusivity with Simandhar and Becker. The reason why is the journey we've had together over the last 8 years. It's been wonderful, Sripal. It's just been incredible. It's really because our values are so closely aligned. We are both keenly focused on changing lives. I've seen it in everything you've done along the path, your great faculty and team, but they're changing lives, and that's what we want to do at Becker is change lives. And you're a great partner to do that with. You've grown tremendously. You have a focus on the student. That's where we closely aligned. A big decision, but an easy decision that you separate yourself from the rest of the competition.
So beautifully answered. Thank you so much, Ed.